How not to waste your life. I've been 3 years out of high school now, and in those 3 years, I've gone forward with a passionate intensity and unapologetically finding myself and what it is that I am, what it is that I desire, unapologetically, at whatever cost. And in that, I've found that I can't really tell you what to do, but I've certainly learned what not to do. In terms of the reading that I do, stuff like that, I read a lot of books. I probably read about an hour every day, and so I get through a lot. Usually about a book a week, depending. I've actually slowed down, or I've gotten into more dense books, and so there's a lot of more complex ideas to break down, etc. But point is, in my learnings and in the minds of great men and their lessons, you learn that it's not about what you do. But success, life in itself, is about avoiding mistakes for the most part. And I think a big mistake is not knowing exactly who you want to be, is not having a destination, and not in terms of a place that you want to be, but a person that you want to be. And that being your destination, that being your purpose, is to find that. And so for me, a great way not to waste your life is by being yourself with passionate intensity. I mean, your goal in life is to find the people, business, project, or art that needs you the most. And there's something out there just for you. I believe that sincerely, and I believe it is a very great utilization of life to trying to figure out what that is exactly. Um, there are a lot of systems out there that were built specifically to create workers. They were built specifically to create a generic type of person that is predictable in order to fit well into certain systems and to be able to work well with others in those particular systems, etc. And we do all have to go through this, and it is, I believe, a necessary part of our journey to learn to work well with others and to learn uh, basic arithmetic, basic language, basic, these are good foundational skills, but that's all they are. And that's why most people will leave high school and not know at all what it is that they want to do with their lives, or not have any skills at all. But you've been there and you've been competent for at least a couple of years and you've kind of figured out what it is that you're good at, what it is that you're not good at. And you still have to quote waste the rest of that time not doing that thing, that you could be using to be on your journey and to start figuring out exactly what it is that you want to be doing with your life. And so a part of that avoidance for me is avoid complacency, avoid being okay with who you are at this moment, and avoid your identity being the reason that you can't discover who it is that you're meant to be. Avoid who you are right now holding you back from who it is that you're meant to be. um, Attack life ferociously. For me, have absolutely no regrets. Now it may be because I am built different and that's why I've chosen to live my life the way I have thus far. However, I really don't see a way in which you would be less happy for having figured out exactly what you're willing to do for what you're not willing to do, where you want to go, where you don't want to go. And so that you can plot out the rest of your life on a certain course that agrees with who you want to be, in terms of that end goal should be something that you're building yourself towards. And that's why for myself personally, business is such an attractive thing, because you have to be a person that can interact with people. You have to be able to build, to sell, to lead. And those are all like very incredible skills to have, very useful skills to have, very practical skills to have. So you become useful to yourself. Your self-worth goes up as you go into that thing, but you also become more and more useful to society, more useful to people, and more of a community builder, and just very highly valuable, not just highly valued by the outside, but I believe that the fact that these skills are difficult builds a certain type of spirit, a certain type of character to where you can't stop even if you want to, and you can't quit even if you want to. You just become a different kind of individual. And I don't believe that you can find this without finding and being yourself with passion and intensity. There's one thing for me that I believe again is a waste of your life force, which is two things. Number one, it's speaking about other people negatively in order to tear them down, whatever the case may be. But even speaking about them positively. Imagine you are a father, right? You're the father of the universe. You're the creator of the universe. This is a great example. Very controversial what I'm about to say, but great example. You're the father of the universe. And you see your kid, he's growing up. He's like, yo, my dad did this. My dad did that. My dad did this and that. Do you think you yourself as the father would be, yes, proud of yourself and what you've accomplished and that your child recognizes it, but in terms of from the child's perspective and from the way that the child would be perceived by everyone else, it's understanding that your father wants you to surpass him. That's what he's training you for. That's what he's building you for. It's because I want you to take what I did, and what I'm doing is trying to build a foundation for you, and then you go from that foundation and you stack it and you take it to places that it's never been. And so if you're busy praising me and you're busy talking about me and what I did, how is that benefiting you, and how are you taking the brass ring to places that it's never been? Yes, have pride in me, and have some sort of internal dialogue, have dialogue with me 100,000%, appreciate me 100,000%, but you constantly, and that's going to prove to show that even on the positive side of things, I'm not here to speak on other people. This is just myself personally, and we're talking about things not to do, right? For me, and tearing people down, that's an even bigger waste of time, because again, how is that going to change their behavior? So on this side, I'm like, yeah, okay, you praise him, fine, whatever, this, that, and the third, but how is that changing your behavior? And therefore, how's that making you better? And so why do it if it's not going to improve your life in any way, shape, or form, and it's not even going to change your behavior? It's not going to make your life better, but it's not even going to make your life worse. It's literally doing nothing. You're literally wasting life. That's all I'm saying. And on the other side of things, if you talk about other people behind their backs and this, that, and the third, it's like if you're not talking to the person and the person's not in the room, then the person's not going to change their behavior. So why are we even talking about it? My life's not going to change. I'm not going to be better because I talked about it. They're not going to be any better because we talked about it, because they're not even here. And even if it's in that person's presence, then it should be targeting not the person, but targeting the behavior that we want to change. So it's asking the question, how do we want this to have an effect on us? We talk about learning, right? Same circumstance, different behavior, and intelligence as rate of learning. So how many times do you have to be in that circumstances for it to change your behavior? Example, red card, slap you in the face. Red card, you duck, you have learned. Red card, slap you in the face. Red card, slap you in the face. Red card, slap you in the face. You are not learning. So this is the same circumstance, and you're not changing behavior, therefore you are not learning. And so how is being in the situation where we are talking about this person, we are criticizing this person, we are doing this, that, and the third, and it is not in their presence, it is not to them, and we are not giving them a behavioral change that we desire in order to see if that behavior will be satisfactory? If we're not doing anything like that, if we're not building like towards that in any way, shape, or form, then we are purely wasting our lives. So I said the first thing is talking about things, talking about people, and that's something to avoid. And there's a second point as well. I fear that I may have hit it while I was hitting that first point, but I'm sure it'll come back to me. But a point that I want to hit on is when everyone is sick, we no longer consider it disease. Meaning, if it's something that everyone has and everyone does, speaking specifically about this, we can talk about desire and understanding that desire is, again, a contract with yourself to be unhappy until you get the thing that you desire. But then on top of that, it's also understanding, or what we need to understand is we are all addicted to desire. We are addicted to making ourselves unhappy in order to acquire something that is outside of ourselves and expect that thing to make us happy. That is delusion. There's nothing outside of you that can make you happy. It's realizing that I'm now at a certain base level of satisfaction, and as I progress, that becomes my new normal. It's realizing that it doesn't happen overnight, and due to the nature of it not happening overnight, when you're halfway there, you will feel as satisfied with your life as you did when you were in the beginning of the journey. When it comes to the external, and when you get to that thing, you realize that, okay, now that I have the thing, there's this next thing that I want. Goals beget more goals. And so it's realizing that we are all sick, and we do all have this disease. And so, again, a thing to avoid is not to let that become all, and not to let that become all consuming, not to let that become everything to you and everything in your life. When you're young, you have time, you have health, but you don't have money. When you're middle aged, you have money, you have health, but you don't have time. And when you're older, you have time because you don't have anything to do. You're just at home or in whatever situation you're in. And you have money. So you have time, you have money, but you don't have your health. Or your health might be fading or waning. And so another goal in life would be to get the trifecta, right? To be in a spot where you have your health, you have time, and you have money. And so that's, I suppose, something to consider. It's really bothering me that I'm not getting this point back. And the thing is, it was very much in my own head. So I have absolutely no way to to recall what it is that I wanted to avoid. So number one, it was talking about other people. I'm very much not a fan of talking about other people, like at all. Like whether it's positive or negative, I just feel like it's a waste of your life and a waste of your time. Let me go back and rewatch, and then I'm just in it. I've meditated on it, and I'm no closer to the answer than I was before. So I'll say speaking about other people is a big number one. Number two is living for other people in any way, shape, or form. I believe is a waste of your life force. And a third prong that I'll add now that I've put some thought into it is vices as well. And perhaps that was going to be the second thing, which is anticipation for our vices pulls us into the future, and eliminating our vices makes it easier to be present. Um, so let's start on that second point. Living for other people, I do believe is just a pure waste of your life force, because at the end of the day, computers crash, relationships end, people die. It's realizing that on a long enough time horizon, they're gonna be dust, you're gonna be dust, and none of it will ever matter. Just thinking about the Romans, wow, the Romans were such a good people. They were such a awesome, dope, this and that, and then realizing that, like, name a Roman. You get what I'm trying to name one, name five, and even if you were able to, those would be the top five. So the average Roman Naya is a part of the Romans. When you say the Romans, you're talking about that person as well. But they don't exist anymore. They literally don't exist. Nothing they like nothing they did, and any sort of children legacy, whatever that they may have had, is now so watered down. Like their children also had children with other people, and they had and who had children, other people had children. So they're as related to their own great 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 grandchildren as I am. It's literally the same type of I'm exaggerating, but I'm exaggerating to make the point, right? And I say that to say, a very big waste of your life force and a waste of your time is trying to live to satisfy any sort of person. Um, yeah, and not doing exactly what it is that you want to do. I believe, and I think that was the second point, which is not doing and being exactly what it is that you want to be is literally a waste of your time and a waste of your life force. If you're not experiencing exactly what you want to experience, and that's trying to cultivate a life where day to day you are doing exactly what you want to do, and yeah, it is life. Life is complicated, and there are things that come here and there, and we do have obligations and responsibilities and this and that. But if your life is predominantly your your obligations, responsibility, this and that, in what time do you find the gap to be you? In what time do you find the gap to find you? And what if you do live this life and it's done, only to realize that you haven't lived it all? Only to realize that you were there showing up for everyone everywhere, but you never really got to show up for you, and you don't even know what that means or what that would mean for yourself. And then to touch on the point of vices, I believe, yeah, this is very difficult when I heard it the first time. But you can't truly be free if you're a slave to your vices. You can't be free if you have to, like, I have to drink right now. I have to smoke. I have to fornicate. I have to have intercourse with whatever chick or whatever dude or whatever. Like I need to. I can't help myself. You're not free. You are a slave to your vice. When I heard that, I was about 18 maybe, something like that. I'm fresh out of high school, all that good stuff. And there's a lot of vicing, that I still felt that I needed to do. And so that was very difficult for me to hear. But again, if we're talking about not wasting life and not or we're talking about what not to do, you don't want to be a victim to your vices. Um, I think everyone who has been through it would agree that that's a very big key point to actually living the type of life that you truly do want to live, and being happy and fulfilled, and all that good stuff. It is a life that is viceless. It is being free to live and express yourself in exactly the way that you want to live and express yourself, you know? And one thing to do, that I believe is very helpful and is not a waste of life, I believe in reading. And for not just for the sake of reading. I don't believe in, for example, just burying yourself in fictional books, me personally. Because again, it's fugazi, up to interpretation. It may mean this, and it's understanding that you don't know everything, right? And you have only so much lived experience. And although I'm very big on being very subject specific in terms of what exactly it is that you want to learn, I think one of the best books that I've read thus far, and Lost in Transformation by Sampita Blanche is definitely up there because I'm looking at it right now. Both Alex Hormozzi's books are absolutely incredible in terms of like very tactical business advice. Like they're like textbooks, bro. Every once in a while, when I'm thinking of like launching a new product, and I'm thinking of naming a thing, when I'm thinking of, I always think about the value equation. I always think about just very very practical tools that he has. Like when I'm thinking about, for example, now I was niching down, and I thought, okay, is this market, is it a growing market? Okay, are they easy to target? Okay, do they have buying power? Like these are literal checklists that are in that book. So incredible book. If we talk about $100 million, that's in $100 million offers, which is his first book. $100 million leads. I literally the other day I talked to someone, and we formed a sort of like affiliate program agreement, and it was based on, so a very big proponent of reading tactical stuff that is in the space that you are interested in, that you want to develop yourself towards. 100%. But this book right here, The Almanac of Naval Ravikant, has changed the way that I understand reading. Not just in reading it, but around the time that I'm reading this, I'm also obviously constantly consuming podcasts and stuff like that, and being in the minds of great men. But I was reading and listening to, oh sorry, I was listening to this podcast. It was Tony Robbins and Patrick Bet-David, and Tony Robbins talked about, you know, books being his greatest allies for a while. Okay, wait, that's one thing. I think it's in this book, right, which is the greatest men of all time, the greatest people to ever live that you would like to listen to. Will give you their nuggets of wisdom, right? That's one thing about books. But number two, he talked about you are literally you get into a space where it's very difficult to not be productive, because if you understand that what you think you begin to say, you do, you are, when you understand that and you consider that when you're reading biographies, he was talking about specifically, you are in their minds at that moment in time. You are speaking their words, you are thinking their thoughts in terms of, okay, what we wish to be, what we wish to be true clouds our perception of what is true. Suffering is the moment when we can no longer deny reality. Profound thought, right? I would never have that thought independent of everything. I would perhaps have it, but not have it in those words, etc. What I'm trying to say is, when you get into these pieces, when you get into these um, biographies, or like autobiographies, even these books just about not just self development or self improvement, but these books just about these people living through life and the way that they think, and they begin to, you begin to pick up their tools and you make them your own. And it becomes very difficult not to begin to think in different, more profound ways when, again, you get into the heads of the type of people that you are trying to learn from, you know? And so I think reading the biographies, etc., of great people, of just great individuals that you're trying to learn from, I think that's not a waste of your life. Because if you think about what books are, if you think about what seminars are, it's condensing. Someone is condensing 30 years of life experience, 30 years of knowledge, etc., into a couple of pages, which may be a 9-10 hour read, like max. If it's a huge book, it won't take you more than a week, bro. Like if you read like a page a day, it hardly takes you more than a week. I've been back reading for literally just this week, and I'm already almost done. Like look at the bookmark on this page. This is what's left. This is what I've read through, and that's just an hour a day. And I haven't even read today's hour, which means I may finish this book today. And it's Saturday. I started reading again on Monday. So that's how quickly you can get through it. And think about that. That's a week of my life in trade for 30 years of experience and the mental tools that it takes to, okay, 30 years is a number that I threw. That's a lifetime of that man's experience up until this point, and that he's put into words, and he's condensed. And so I'm living 60 years, give or take, in a week. And I'm learning the way that I perhaps would be thinking myself after I'd gone through the experience that he's gone through. And I'm going through that life cycle. And this is why, if you're someone who talks to me, you'll realize that I very quickly, and this is why it end up making videos like this about not wasting life. I very quickly go through cycles of life. I very quickly go through life cycles. People laugh at me all the time, because I tell them that I'm 20 now. I'm turning 21 this year, like say more than halfway through the year. Like in the latter half of the year, I'm turning 21. But I've already, by last year, I was telling people like I'm done with girls, bro. I'm done with that whole like party lifestyle, this, that, and the third. And people will be like confused and like what? And I go through life cycles very quickly, you know. I really, really go through just stints and cycles of life. And yes, there are parts of them that I never truly uh, process and understand exactly why I moved on from them, etc. But I trust my judgment in moving on from them, and I do truly move on. But there are times where I have to step back and kind of think about like, what happened there? Like what is it truly that I can now retrospectively look back at and say, okay, this happened, that happened, I live this, I live that, and I look at those things and I break it down, and that becomes helpful to me, in the way that I've chosen to live my life. But ultimately, the thing that I want to touch on is the fact that I lived through life cycles very quickly. So you can see me now, and then in 6 months, you hit me again, and I'm thinking completely differently. That's just myself as a human being. It's been myself ever since, again, I've started this journey of just being unapologetically myself, is because I'm trying to find that. And so I may do certain things, think certain ways, and then I hit a wall, and I realize that, oh, okay, the reason why I'm hitting this wall is because there is a point at which I am contradicting myself, in terms of this is who I believe I am, and I'm doing this, doing this, doing this, doing this. Boom, it hits a point, and the point right there is a point of friction, because this is who I think I am. Like, this is who I think I am. This is the path that I'm on. I'm walking down this path, and then I hit a wall that is a contradiction between who I think I am and what I'm about to do. And that is when I begin to change the behavior. I'm like, okay, I don't think I'm going to do that anymore, because it doesn't agree with my soul. It doesn't agree with me internally. And I would perhaps lose respect for myself if I went down this road. Or I would think that I chose the easier of the two paths that is going to be less beneficial to the people that I love, to the people around me, etc. Like there may be a lot of moral like we talk about intrapersonal uh, beliefs that are attached to whatever action I'm choosing to take, or whatever action I'm choosing not to take. So I run into that, and then I change my behavior. But if you knew me before that time, you'd say, "Oh, you're the guy who." I'm like, "Nah, bro, I don't do that." And so that has happened multiple times all throughout, as I'm beginning to discover myself. I'm changing my mind, and I'm not being, I'm not dying on hills that I don't believe in to begin with. And I think that's another waste of life. Another way to waste your life is to die on hills that you did not even build intentionally. That's a very big one, actually. Very big point. Don't die on hills that you did not build intentionally. If you have intentionally crafted and molded and shaped whatever this belief is from the ground up, and you're willing to stand on it and die on it, all power to you. But don't die for ideas that I had, that you got from me or anyone else in the world. Don't die because my mom said, because your mom is going through her journey. She's living her life. She holds that belief, and you haven't even tested that belief. You don't even know if you truly believe that, and you're willing to die on it. You're willing to not experience this and that because you believe it. And I'm not saying everyone should be out here living any sort of heathenistic type of lifestyle, because again, I don't lead that life myself. However, I'm saying, don't not live a certain way because of someone else's beliefs. Make sure that it is your belief that is restricting you from not doing that thing. Make sure it is something that you value to not do that thing. Otherwise, there will come a point in life, there will come a crossroads at which you are in a position where no one is going to see you, no one is ever going to know, and you can now, in the dark, do this thing that goes against your belief. And that's when that's the position where people go crazy, because that's true cognitive dissonance. That's true misalignment between thought, speech, and action, right? Is you've always thought this thing. You've always, right? Like you got the belief, so you think it, and you're always saying it to people. But now, what you're about to do and what you kind of want to do, again, because you're not reinforced in that belief, there's nothing behind it. And so I'm not saying um, contradict every belief until you know that you believe it. What I am saying is, whatever you think you believe, test it, refine it, look back on it, and stack beliefs behind, you know, stack reasoning behind all the beliefs you hold so that you may hold strong when the winds of life come to shake you loose and come to knock you down, come to knock you off of that hill. Make sure that if you believe in this hill that has been built, maybe you don't even believe the thing, but you believe the person. So you're like, listen, I don't know. I don't know about all this, but I trust so and so. And so I'm going to stand on this. Make sure that you reinforce, at, first and foremost, make sure you understand this person as well as you think you do. But even that could potentially be a waste of time. What would be a better use of your time is to understand this belief, is to understand what hill you're standing on and understand if you stand for it. So, all in all, ultimately, today's video was about uh, just how not to waste this thing called life, because I believe it's precious. It is a blink. It is a firefly's blink in the nighttime. Um, we are only here for a very, very brief period of time. And what if this is paradise and we're squandering it? I would want as few people to have squandered their lives as possible. And I would love to be a part of as many people as possible not squandering their lives. And so I do my part, which is this. Let me go through this one last time and see if there's nothing else that I would love to give to you. First of all, believing in yourself is a full-time job is something that I think we all ought to believe. And a very big one is you can get almost anything you want out of life as long as it's one thing and you want it far more than anything else. Anything. Almost anything that you want from life you can get, as long as it's one thing and you are willing to sacrifice the other things, because everything comes with things that you're going to have to start doing that are difficult and things that you're going to have to stop doing that you like to do in order to go ahead and get that thing. So yeah, man, lock in, make sure it's what you want, and live life exactly the way that you want to live it. Be yourself with intensity and unapologetically. Thank you for watching. I have been Sage, signing out. If you want to support the channel, please do subscribe. Thank you.